I actually started the game a little bit early, not thinking about it. So like, I clicked on the game, then I was like, wait a minute, I'm not live. Oops. But that's fine. Still going through Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're just gonna do chapter 4 tonight, most likely. I don't know. I guess it depends on how long chapter 4 actually takes for us to get through. Because it ends up being just like one quick little thing. I don't think it's gonna be that. I think it's gonna be. I think chapter 4 and 5 are both gonna be very long because chapter 3 was short, but it felt like chapter 3 was kind of trying to set up the rest of the story, pretty much. But we had to get a guy found not guilty who very much seemed like he was guilty so that we could stay in Britain. It was very similar, or very reminiscent of the final trial in the second Phoenix Wright game, Trials and Tribulations, I believe. That may have been, I think that's the third game. Whatever, the second Phoenix Wright game, where the final trial you have to essentially buy time to, well, I'm not going to save Maya, basically. But let's continue. That's a different game for a different day, if I ever go through it again. Let's get started with this one. The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro, Episode 4.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Are we doing Jack the Ripper now? 19th February, 9:47 a.m. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. I can't imagine that they would do an early 19th, wait, was it early 18th or early 19th century? Or rather, early 19th or early 20th century. Obviously, it's not early 18th century. I think this is early 19th. I think this is either late 19th century or early 20th century. I don't remember for sure. But it's like right after the British Empire made contact with Japan. But I can't imagine they would have a game with Sherlock Holmes and not include Jack the Ripper as well, especially if it's set in London. Did you sleep last night? Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. I felt the gaslights twinkling. It was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. about the enormous bets. During my time on the SS Victoria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Ah, good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. I'm sure he already knows, right? Sasato-san was amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation in British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh! No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. It's in the past now, Ryunosuke. The only thing we can do is look forward. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendant has not at present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to prefer judgment. Well, Mr. Lord Van Dykes, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. I just can't help wondering. Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo! It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? The fire that we saw, right? I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Yeah, we saw the fire thing, but it wasn't. We weren't told who we weren't told. Like, we saw the fire thing, but it was never shown who was in the carriage at the time, or the cart when it was set on fire. It also wasn't explained why they weren't able to unlock the cart or put the fire out. McGilded's death. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As I'm sure you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled in... As I'm sure you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. Gilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already... The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful! The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. The bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Think about it now. Immediately after the trial ended, Gilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. Tis time for the inspection. Sorry, what inspection? I'm going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard has any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who is Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. Mr. Arnold means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. Most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. Or I was stunned when I first heard them. That just still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. That can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much is at least an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? was I going to say before? Could you perhaps give us some more details about the case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did you just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died as yet. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. The trial is tomorrow. So the trial's tomorrow, then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was, well, it's been wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I can stay standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. It's a murder, isn't it? Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh. The situation remains unchanged. The trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. If that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Also, I mentioned 23 hours. He said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something that you intended to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, as someone always used to say, you see, he wanted to learn how the Great Ace justice system of the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's young, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh! Another thing? Continue. On the way here, though, on the steamship, you said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to here. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of all the details. He also has fries. How long has he been there? So I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. He literally just popped up during this scene. There's something very important that I have to do. Kasuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we'd better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I don't just imagine he did. I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. He looks indifferent, what do you mean? Did we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English drink out of your hand, you know. But Sato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to a receiver. I happen to give up the lights that you were talking to. I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bunk and you want to jump for a country I ain't never even heard of. And that woman said that's my reputation for the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryonosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable! How did she pull that off? So, Lord Stronghold asked me to fill you in on the case. Name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does the detective's name mean something to her? Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? I don't think you know this man, Mr. Sato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Grant's Magazine? That's right! Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rivaled the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes is particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not. Thanks to that magazine, my name's all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? Huh. I had to admit, that's... But to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There was nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed as he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying. But I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps Sunrise to Fame does change people. Sorry, my hand is like pins and needles right now. Give me a second here. So, about the case that oh, Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be any more complicated. Unless you're wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. Young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital unconscious. That's despicable! What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with the Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryonosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time to make a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? I'm gonna stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? It's simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Barak Van Zeeks. Didn't we already beat him? No, not him again. No. Sounds like you've heard of him then. Ah, yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barak Van Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGillen told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When these sons for the prosecution, they called and used as sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it? All but one, anyway. Well, all but one so far. Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector. Then yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. Ah, and what of it? Oh, well, I think... that means even as the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. We weren't able to conclusively prove guilt or innocence, though. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Madness McGill became a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Right, well, I filled you in as requested. I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place? That's correct, ma'am. If you head over there to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. Okay, so it was Briar Road, stabbed in the back, not fatally. Lady's in the hospital, unconscious though. Brandon him a criminal already? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. It'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. Here's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo?
To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too.
Look, he's the Edgeworth of this game, but the man they've arrested is innocent. You could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in a cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny.
So,
if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help?
Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you.
So then, jolly?
Yes! Let's go!
So we can go to Briar Road or the prison. We'll go to the crime scene first. February 19th, Briar Road. So this is where it happened. Briar Road.
Ah! Look, Mr. Naruhodo! Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak.
That is their job, you know.
But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes? They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close to a real Bobby's helmet.
What? The helmet?
Of course! I have to try one on one day.
Well, I hope your happy dreams come true. I don't see Inspector Gregson anywhere. Just if we can sneak past and investigate the scene of the stabbing.
Why should we sneak?
I don't want to step on one of the bobbies and be butted on the head by one of those metal helmets. My skull would crack in two.
Oh no, Nicholas Bobby would never do such a thing. This is a land of gentlemen, you know. Oh, British bicycle, look! Although the wheels must misshapen and circuit and possibly be ridden in wool.
He's also been doing some breakneck cycling.
It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well.
The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that.
Goodness, do you dislike bicycles?
No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you'd ever tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river, I know you'd agree with me.
Well, we'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around.
Hello.
Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows?
Yes, but they're all filled with bricks.
Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where no one lives at the moment.
There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though.
Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. There's so much we have to learn about this place.
I was more curious about the giant hole in the fencing right here, but maybe the bush is just overgrowing it. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks.
It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. So it soon disperses all the snow.
I slept over, or when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems it would be far safer to walk on the road instead.
Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruto, and dressed in all black. I worry Coachman might not see you, and you could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. Oh. Clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, don't they? With the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it is known as Foggy London Town. I can just make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's still being built, though. Ah, yes, that must be the Crystal Tower. They're referring to this spire right here that I'm circling with my mouse. I say that very specifically because I clicked right here. That must be the Crystal Tower being built for the Great Exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time. Apparently it's going to be very striking. It's going to be very striking. Glazed on all sides and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. It's to be the largest exposition in history, isn't it? I can't even begin to imagine it. Sorry for yawning. Oh. You saw a lot of smoke rising from the chimneys over there? It says here in Great Britain that many people heat their homes in the winter using coal. The only chimneys I ever really remember seeing in Japan were on top of the bathhouse. Do you think some of those houses could be on fire? Not at all. Well, even so, that much thick smoke billowing up to the heavens is surely going to turn the whole sky black sooner or later. Gosh, you may be right about that. That's a rather typical brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks decidedly worse shaped than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yes, you're right. Cheap, but ideally reasonably level floors. You're a delightful snowman. I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It's a little creepy, though. Oh, it has a scarf. Look. You need one if you're out in this freezing cold all the time. Wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Sure, the snowman here wouldn't miss his. Whoever made the snowman certainly would. Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage! They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's all been a dream of mine to ride one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows, then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, let me find a good stone. No, I wasn't serious. Some of the officers from Scotland Yard, the police make use of the crime scenes undisturbed. I feel that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs, despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Ugh.
Oh. I guess we had to leave. I guess we had to go talk to the guy for. Oh, hello? Special payment must be where the incident occurred.
Yes, it's a very wide open space, isn't it?
It's true. I can't see where an attacker could have been hiding. Oi! What are you foreigners doing here?
Hey!
Just investigating the scene, officer. Conspiring with that mustache fellow from Japan, are you? Mustached fellow conspiring? Come here and destroy evidence, ID. Go before I give you an eye. Go on. I'm a lawyer.
He shooed us away like rats.
Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think.
What a disappointing experience.
Okay, so yeah, that pretty much confirms we probably have to go talk to the client first. Which is annoying. I really wish they would do away with the system of, oh, you had to go here before you can go there. Because if you go to the other place first, then there's just going to be stuff in the way blocking you from doing anything. 19th February, local prison, cell number 9. Didn't we say inmate 53? Why is he in cell 9? So these are the British prison cells.
Oh, they're ghastly. Feels just like a dungeon.
Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls.
Oh, don't, Mr. Naruto. You're making it seem worse.
Apparently our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Calling me by a number. It's utterly unbelievable. Unbelievably unjustly reasonable. I refuse to answer.
Mr. Naruto, what? What do you think is going on here?
I have no idea. But I wasn't just hearing things, was I? The tirade of complaints was in Japanese. Oh, it's not who I thought it was. Excuse me, but who? Shh, quiet! They're all around. Hide! I know they are. They're watching, listening, even now. I can sense it. Right. So could I ask you who exactly— There you are! You've come to Grimsby, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost! A ghost?
We mean you no harm, prisoner-son, are you? Japanese by any chance?
This is beyond my wildest dreams. Forgive me for that outpost before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it. It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am in the frightful fits of a foreign land. So hearing the sweet sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this dark hellhole was the most monumentally moving moment. Who would have guessed this new client, Lord Strongheart, assigned us turned out to be a fellow Japanese?
Ah, my compassion, my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can, I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sasuke Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government, notoriously named Natsume. Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No! Don't be so prosaic! It's much more refined than that. And haiku? It really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond the pale. Suffered that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it? No! What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly unbelievable, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on whitewashy. You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, so I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. Accusation. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder! Murder? Oh, no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, excusably, irritatingly inconvenient. Soseki-san was right there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker? It's vital that we find out more about the case. It was on a cursed evening just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I went to the bookshop to buy some books and was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure, the bookshop wasn't accursed too. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was. just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a scream and collapsed on the cold hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible! I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a golden square graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps? I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. Well, they'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Saseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of this fair-haired English? And a young woman at that! I'm a diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see. A young woman unknown to Saseki-san. And at the time that it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was no one else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? What do you mean, Sasaki-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Saseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did! But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit? You! What did you just say? Nothing, I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little too loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. Yeah, he was arrested on a witness account, right? But there was no one else there. What I was thinking was, how did Saseki-san actually come to be arrested? Exactly. Sorry? He didn't touch the victim. There was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh yes, she's right. It was him! That accursed great detective! He led the police to me! I'm gonna assume the detective is... Oops. Tobias is Grayson, not Sholmes. Of all the bad luck! Cursed great detective? Could it be... I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live, with his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Oh, it was Sholmes. Brash, big-headed busybody, be gone! May you be cursed till the end of your days, Hairlock Sholmes! I knew it. Mr. Sholmes? Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst into the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police, put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver. And yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination devils! You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was in the middle of all the policemen grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Hairlock Sholmes! It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really well known.
Well known for his being incorrect, hopefully. I can assure you.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me? Me? This weak, stooped kitten of a man.
What great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time?
Do you mean to say that Mr. Soames' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish foreign flimflammery. Not film.
Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English.
Good point. My mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I was in manacles. And before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo Esquire! Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg of you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you?
Well,
Why is it so hard to say yes to me?
well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself. On a study tour. No, we're a full-fledged lawyer now. We were literally told we were a full-fledged lawyer.
A student?
I defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means.
Oh, Naruhodo-san.
I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm sort of a locum lawyer, I suppose.
But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire.
It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend.
A keepsake?
Yeah, much like this katana on my waist.
I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh? Who do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness, why do you say that? For the same reasons you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though it must be the culprit.
It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san.
And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time visit. And of course the foreigner did it. They had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. It's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through.
Soseki-san, you have no idea. It's just that You really have no idea what the hell I've been through. Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean?
We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you. I'll be here all alone, waiting for you, locum student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
We should be going then,
We should be going then, Naruhodo-san.
I'm sorry, I thought that was Naruhodo talking to Susato.
We have a case to prepare for.
Alright. Back to Briar Road. What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Grayson!
I had to remember his voice for a second. I remember I went with that gumshoe. From original Phoenix, right? This isn't the tourist trail, and I'm fairly sure you're well aware.
Yes, of course. We're here to investigate.
Trip into the holding cells then? What do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick it together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. Doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever it happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. Stone cold air of rejection.
Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Talking about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and do you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet.
It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty protecting the city.
Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you.
Oh really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes around and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work.
What? He wakes people up?
Yep, raps on their window with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit.
I had no idea.
The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way.
Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama.
On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
Oh my!
And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobby's to investigate cases as well.
And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you can call it in between exactly. More alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit.
I've always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. about the case. It happened around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago, just there on that bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned she was being treated in hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes from around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means I haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Be sure? It's our policy to give lawyers, defendants, suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still.
Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept it.
Local map. Added to the court record. May as well take a look at it. Okay, so it was here. On the corner of Briar. Calabash. There's a side alley right here that anyone could have just ducked into really quickly. Anyway, as far as we know, there's no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around.
Just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present.
I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, man, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
What?
We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. Is that it? I just dealt with like 3 or 4 of them all conspiring together last chapter.
Ah!
It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? There were witnesses now? Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard.
Ah!
A policeman? That might change things.
And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment when the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, man. Part and parcel being a bobby. Catch them in the bang of the... send them bang in the act and all that. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. So that then, he's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems.
A policeman witnessed the incident. Mr. Judicial Assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed.
Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh, one more thing, Inspector.
What?
The person who led you to the suspect, I heard that was Mr. Herlock Scholes. What are you bringing him up for? Something I said? The color is drained from his cheeks. Well, let's talk about the trial first. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you gonna defend him or not? Makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer with assault would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It is all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals, the violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely? That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed but didn't kill her. Can't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it sounds actually a minor infraction, though, is it? No, there's gotta be more to it. Some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell you what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You don't... Another Castlevania reference. You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. We're really going to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it? I think that's a Castlevania reference. And I clicked the last, the Sherlock Holmes option. Who did you hear that name from? No, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He mentioned that Mr. Sholmes was with police when they entered his lodgings.
I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational grand deductions.
Fiddle faddle!
Arg!
The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere.
Oh.
I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime. Wanders about spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he?
He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble.
Ugh!
Ever seen this before?
Oh, yes, that's the Rance magazine.
The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears. Yeah, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, seems fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called Great Detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks off for every one of us, only to be fronted by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector?
Apparently the Great Detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective.
Mr. Naruto, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yes? What is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this.
By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, exactly.
Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again.
The trouble is, we have no idea the man's address even.
It's Baker Street.
But how do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course.
Okay, I don't remember Sherlock Holmes's address. 221B Baker Street. Oh, yeah, I think that's the exact address. I was like, wasn't it 1221? No, 221B. That might actually be the real address of Sherlock Holmes.
221B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. Well, it's not going to stop us from going, I suppose. We're trying to find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable.
Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage.
Wait, I want to look around first. So we're having a reunion already. The great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, I genuinely can't look around anymore, I guess. Alright, time to... A new location has been added. Sholmes' suite. Oh, cutscene. This is probably bad.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
February, 2:53 p.m. 12:53 p.m., sorry. Sholmes' suite. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Mr. Sato? Sato-san?
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose there must have been, yes. I've never read the story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruto?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So, if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a little while longer. Please, don't mind me.
She's obsessed. Well, so your detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor?
Oh, do we have a visitor? Hello, is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes?
Hello? Wait,
Aren't you? Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once.
I'm sure it's the same girl. Mr. Sato, did you see the girl who was just here?
Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room and to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case.
The King of Bohemia?
King Wilhelm Gottfried
Sigismund?
Sigismund von Ormstein, of course.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there.
The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you!
I knew it. Susato-san recognizes her too.
Ah, there you are! And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine.
girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's anti-chamber.
I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London.
Yes, it was challenging.
Well, then try this tea. It's my special blend.
Thank you.
Is tea supposed to look that color? Oh my! What a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! Try blending different leaves design to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your little voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Now enter to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots of luck.
How do you know all this?
Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Hurley? Mr. Sholmes, do you, surely?
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Oh, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again. You know, he's just returned from overseas.
Is she like his wife, but she's just a lot older than she looks, but the game is like, LOL, she's short, so child.
Wait a minute. I met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? Perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley.
Ah, Iris, is it?
What?
What's the matter?
No way! This can't be! Did you say that your name is Wilson?
Pardon me. What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is he so flustered all of a sudden?
Yes, that's right. And what are your names?
I'm Marinos Uke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runa. Got it. Susie?
And Runa? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. So many questions for her. I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
It was you that we ran into yesterday, was it? Wasn't it? At the Old Bailey?
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Although at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this? Thinking back now, you left with Mr. Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Ah yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pitch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-destructing gun-like contraption?
Exactly! So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after all that. So she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your trusted technician?
Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. We live here together.
I had no idea the Great Detective had such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I?
Well then,
What is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? I expect you found out that the lodgings of any kind are very expensive in London. So the solution is to share the cost with the partner.
hey, your roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what if your mother and father?
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder if the story is there. Better not to ask.
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course, go ahead, Susan. I am a very great fan of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and oh, you have a copy of Ranch magazine. Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting! My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories?
That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It'd be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness! Last night you was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you were the author? Yes, I'll let you know the secret if you like. I'm going to call his latest adventure The Speckled Band.
The Speckled Band? That's certainly familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details of the stories here and there. This time I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course I know the snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Ranced magazine? Oh, are written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
So this one's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, it's quite incredible.
But Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Oh, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling.
Oh,
It sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? I suppose it does, yes.
poor Sasato-san. She looks like her whole world is just falling apart. About before.
Yes, what's on your mind, Runa? Tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean, the armband and sword probably gave a lot away. A katana specifically gave a lot away.
Yes. Oh, and how did you know we have a difficult trial tomorrow? And that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, explain. Tell us exactly how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although there's really no mystery. Ramya yawned. No, begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. First, I already knew that you were a lawyer, remember? After all, I met you yesterday at the old bailey in the defendant safety chamber.
Also, the armband, yeah. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
Insert a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh,
Sheriff has been confident that you only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, it's after the case against that particular prosecutor telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
the Reaper of the Bailey? I rolled right into that one, didn't I?
I noticed the red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you, earlier today?
Ah!
I use those shifts to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see? I didn't realize. The red stamp is only used for people who are visiting, for people visiting foreign inmates. So that's what you told me, that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus Gilded, it said you already had cause to visit a foreign inmate in a local prison. I already knew that he was wearing a particularly sad expression on his face, so I concluded the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or relative. Now I even knew that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, I haven't barely been home a few hours yesterday. I heard he sought to get another case. And obviously I noticed him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was bowing trembling.
Japanese man? Oh, apparently that must have been...
Mr. Natsume. Now, Reno has exchanged a Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is kind of familiar, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that both of you come from Japan yourselves. So I turned to the other and said you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And since there's only one conclusion both sides could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. I don't know, the info piece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. He's always stabbing us with a knife, you know. He is silly.
This 10-year-old is smarter than the person purported as the world's greatest detective.
And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you all for listening. I'm Iris Wilson. That was one of my great deductions. Was it a winner? Are my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You managed to the certain something and of Mr. Scholz's delivery.
Oh, well, it was just coming in Hurley's style for that. This really is great news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please?
Why? So yesterday, Mr. Scholz apprehended a Japanese man, as you were saying.
Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after a sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
The great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently, the woman was dead on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who saw a short-shaped, yellow-looking stamped man running away from the scene.
A short, shifty-looking stooped man? Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all.
How used his great detective powers to determine the man's address? In a lodging room very nearby, he went directly there with police. And what did they find? A short, city-looking astute man shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholmes' great detection certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Sure, tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. He says that Linden is rife with crime.
Oh.
Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they didn't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why we can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Instead of money about sort, crimes are usually pinned on the suspicious person or for a suspicious person. That's terrible. And I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't have much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. Give me a moment. I think my audio broke there. Oh, yeah. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about the case as well.
Oh, well, I spent earliest investigating the scene.
The case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Nuts, Honey said he was going to go to his lodgings. Hey, now you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? I imagine the police are still investigating the crime themselves, aren't they? Do you happen to come across a detective on the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yes, we know it's Dr. Gregson.
Ah, goody, in that case. Take her to see this from me with you. If you do that, I'm sure I'll tell you what you want to know.
What's this?
A 5-shilling piece on a postcard, it seems.
Iris's postcard entered into the court record.
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this way the inspector help us, will it?
Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. We're bribing the information out of him.
Good luck, then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruto, it's back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. To be continued. Alright, that's the end of the YouTube video. So, YouTube, we will be right back after I save. I'm clicking yes on OBS. I'm stupid. Save. Alright. BRB. Well, I'll see YouTube. I'm uploading these once a day on YouTube. I've decided that's just gonna be the upload schedule. So yeah, YouTube next part will be up tomorrow. See you all then. See you then, YouTube. Stream, don't go anywhere. Stopping recording now.